I never thought I'd be the guy who finds himself in the middle of a cheating scandal, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I'm sharing this not just to vent, but maybe to help someone else. My wife Emily and I had been married for 5 years, and overall things were all right. But lately it felt like something had shifted. We both worked long hours. Emily, a marketing manager for a tech company, had been coming home later than usual. At first, I brushed it off as work stress or project deadlines, but there were little things that started to gnaw at me, like how she avoided eye contact after work, or how she'd be glued to her phone, quickly texting someone as soon as I walked into the room. Maybe she really was just tired, but the gut feeling I had told me otherwise. I started noticing other oddities too. She'd make excuses for why she couldn't go out with me on weekends. "I have to finish a report," she'd say, or "I promised a friend I'd help them with something." Once, I asked if she wanted to grab dinner and she snapped at me that she was too busy. That wasn't like her. Emily was usually so warm and affectionate. The change was jarring. One night I was in the living room watching TV, feeling a bit lonely when she came home around 10. I could tell she had a drink or two. The scent of wine lingered on her breath. I thought maybe we could reconnect, so I asked her about her day. Instead of her usual chatter, she was curt and evasive. Something felt off. I decided to check her social media while she was in the shower. That was where my suspicions turned into dread. I saw a message thread between her and someone named Mark. They were flirting, a lot. The words they exchanged were loaded with inside jokes and flirty emojis that made my stomach churn. I forced myself to keep reading, each line digging a hole deeper in my chest. I lost track of time and my heart raced. The scariest part, it was clear they had met up. I found pictures of them together, laughing at some bar. When Emily stepped out, I straightened up on the couch, suddenly feeling queasy. She was wearing her pajamas, her hair still damp, and I almost felt sorry for her. I couldn't help but think about how she'd been so different lately. The woman in front of me was not the same Emily I married. I confronted her that night. I wish I could say I was cool and calm, but my voice shook as I asked about Mark. The color drained from her face, but she quickly shifted to anger. "What the hell are you talking about?" she snapped. "You're being ridiculous." "Am I?" I shot back, my heart pounding. "I saw the messages, Emily. I know you're seeing him." The way her expression changed from denial to a defensive posture was gut-wrenching. She tried to spin it, claiming it was just innocent flirting, that I was overreacting. But I could see right through her lies. She was scared, cornered, and desperate. I felt a mix of emotions: anger, betrayal, confusion. I had always trusted her. The reality that she was lying straight to my face shattered something inside me. "What happened to us?" I asked, barely holding back tears. "We had something real." Her excuses tumbled out, but none made sense. She blamed work stress, said she felt neglected, and twisted the narrative as if it was my fault. I didn't buy it. I was lost in a sea of disbelief, and I could feel my heart breaking. As the night dragged on, I was left with a choice. I could either accept her pathetic excuses or face the truth that my wife had chosen to betray me. I realized that I needed time to process everything, to figure out what I wanted. But deep down, I knew one thing: I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I spent the night tossing and turning, my mind racing. I needed to take control of the situation. I had to think of a plan that would let me regain some power in this ordeal. But what could I do? I felt powerless, yet I knew I had to act. Little did I know this was just the beginning. The next few days felt like walking through a fog. I went to work, but I was on autopilot. My mind kept replaying the confrontation with Emily, her defensive words echoing in my head. Each time I tried to think about our future, all I could see was betrayal. I was angry, but there was also sadness. I loved her, or at least I thought I did. I tried to gather my thoughts and focus on what I needed to do. I couldn't just sit back and let her continue to lie to me. That was unacceptable. So I decided to do a little digging. I needed to know everything. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. I started by looking through her phone while she was in the shower or out running errands. I knew it was wrong, but I felt justified. She had crossed a line, and I wanted to find out how deep this rabbit hole went. It was a violation of trust, but so was what she was doing. I figured I was owed that much. I found more messages between Emily and Mark. They were planning to meet up again. I could feel my blood boil as I read their exchanges. It was like a punch to the gut each time I came across a flirtation or an inside joke. I saved the screenshots, knowing they'd come in handy later. The more I uncovered, the clearer it became that this wasn't a one-time fling. They'd been seeing each other for weeks. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I thought of all the times I'd reached out to Emily, wanting to connect, only to be pushed away. All those late nights when she claimed to be working late while I paced the floor, wondering if I had done something wrong. She had been lying through her teeth, and I was too naive to see it. One night, I decided to lure her into a conversation about work, hopping to catch her off guard. I asked her if she was still seeing Mark, trying to keep my tone light as if I was joking. I could see her eyes narrow and she shot back. Of course not. What kind of question is that? Her reaction confirmed what I already knew. She was guilty and she was scared. After a week of gathering evidence and feeling increasingly deflated, I decided it was time to formulate a plan for my revenge. I wasn't going to be a victim in this. I wanted her to feel the same betrayal I felt. I wanted to expose her, not just to myself, but to everyone who had ever supported our relationship. I reached out to a couple of mutual friends who had always liked Emily. I knew they'd be shocked to learn the truth, but I also wanted them to see her for who she really was. I told them I was going through a rough time and needed their support. I didn't mention the affair at first. I just wanted to gather intel. I needed to know how they viewed her and if they'd noticed any changes in her behavior. As I connected with them, I learned that Emily had been acting strange around them too. One friend mentioned how Emily had made comments about needing space and feeling overwhelmed. It confirmed my suspicions that she was spinning a web of lies not just around me but also around our friends. It was time to execute my plan. I decided to confront Emily again, but this time I would have proof. I arranged to meet her at the coffee shop where we had our first date. I thought it was symbolic. It felt right to bring things full circle, but this time I wasn't looking for love. I was looking for the truth, and I was ready to expose her. I spent the entire day leading up to our meeting feeling a mix of dread and determination. Part of me was terrified of how she would react, but another part of me felt empowered. I finally had the upper hand. I wanted her to see that I wasn't going to be the weak husband she could walk all over. When I arrived at the coffee shop, I was a bundle of nerves. I ordered a coffee to give myself something to do with my hands. I watched the door, waiting for her to arrive. When Emily walked in, looking charming as ever, I felt a twinge of familiarity. I remembered the good times, the laughter, and the love, but that was before. As she approached me, her smile faltered a bit, probably sensing the tension in the air. "Hey, it's been a while since we've been here," she said, trying to keep it light. "Yeah, it has," I replied, forcing a smile. "But I thought it would be a good place to talk about some things." Her eyes narrowed again, and I could see the wheels turning in her head. She sensed this wasn't going to be an ordinary conversation. "Is everything okay?" she asked, her voice losing its usual cheerfulness. I took a deep breath, ready to turn this meeting into the confrontation of a lifetime. It was time to make her face the truth. I took a moment to gather my thoughts, my heart racing as I prepared to confront Emily. The atmosphere in the coffee shop felt charged, full of tension as the chatter of other patrons faded into the background. I couldn't ignore the fact that we were sitting in a place where love had once blossomed, but now it felt tainted. I needed to pull the trigger on this emotional grenade. "Emily," I started, keeping my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me, "I think we need to talk about your relationship with Mark." Her reaction was immediate. The smile slipped from her face, replaced with a glare that shot daggers in my direction. "What are you talking about?" she replied, crossing her arms defensively. "I already told you I'm not seeing him." I leaned forward, my heart pounding, pulling out my phone from my pocket. "These say otherwise." I slid the screenshots across the table, watching as her eyes widened in shock. I had saved our argument for this moment, and seeing the truth laid bare was nearly cathartic. She scanned the messages, her expression shifting from shock to anger. "You went through my phone," she spat, her voice rising above the din of the coffee shop. "That's low, Jake. Low," I echoed, incredulous. "You think what you did is any better? You've been lying to me for weeks." "I deserved better than this, Emily." I could see the wheels turning in her head as she scrambled for an excuse. These texts are just friendly. You're overreacting. You know how people can be on social media. I shook my head, feeling the anger boiling beneath the surface. Friendly? Emily, this is way beyond friendly. You're meeting up with him and you know it. You've betrayed me and our marriage. She looked around as if hoping someone would come to her rescue. I could see the panic rising in her eyes as she realized she was losing the upper hand. Okay, fine. Maybe we flirted a little, but it's not what you think. You've been so distant lately and I needed someone to talk to. Talk to? Is that what you call it? I countered, feeling a mix of vindication and heartbreak. You could have talked to me, but you chose to be with someone else instead. You chose to betray me. The coffee shop buzzed around us, but I felt like we were in our own little world, the reality of our relationship collapsing in front of me. I was here holding the pieces of what used to be our life, and she was trying to dismiss it as if it was nothing. As the silence stretched between us, I could see her scrambling for words. Jake, please, let's just what, Emily? I interrupted, my voice rising with frustration. Pretend like this isn't happening, like you haven't been lying to my face. You need to own this. You made a choice, and now we have to deal with the consequences. She leaned back in her chair, the fight seeming to leave her as she looked down at the table. I could see tears starting to pool in her eyes, but I felt no sympathy. I'd shed enough tears over this situation already. It was her turn to feel the weight of her actions. After a long pause, she finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm sorry, Jake. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Sorry doesn't cut it, I replied, anger throbbing in my chest. You've shattered my trust. I don't know if I can forgive you for this. I gripped my coffee cup tightly, the heat from the ceramic grounding me amidst the chaos of emotions swirling in my mind. What do you want from me? She asked. I love you. I didn't mean to hurt you. Love? This isn't love, Emily. You don't hurt people you love. You don't go behind their back and lie to them. You've made your choice clear. You want to be with him even if it's just for the thrill. It's not like that, she insisted, her voice desperate. I was confused. My life has been so stressful and I didn't know how to deal with it. I scoffed, feeling the anger bubbling inside me. So cheating is your answer. Running to another man instead of talking to me. I feel like I don't even know you anymore. Her expression shifted again, shifting from anger to pleading. I'll end it. I'll cut him off, I promise, she said, desperation leaking into her voice. Just give me another chance. I'll do anything, anything. I challenged, leaning closer. You think that will fix this? It's not just about him, it's about us. You need to understand the damage you've done. You've broken my trust and you think I can just forget about it. The coffee shop felt like a pressure cooker, the tension thickening the air between us. I could feel the eyes of the other patrons on us. It was humiliating to be here, laying my heart bare while she tried to deflect responsibility. I want you to understand that this is not just a bump in the road, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. This is a fracture, and it might not ever heal. I don't know if I want to fix this. As I looked at her, I saw the woman I once loved, but also the woman who had betrayed me. The two images clashed in my mind, creating a whirlwind of confusion and pain. What would I choose? What was I willing to sacrifice? Emily reached across the table, her hand trembling. Jake, please don't give up on us. We can figure this out. But as I sat there contemplating what the future might hold, I knew I had to make a choice, one that would change everything. I sat there, staring at Emily's outstretched hand, feeling a mix of emotions. Part of me wanted to reach out, to grasp onto the love I once felt for her, to believe that we could somehow navigate through this mess together. But another part of me screamed for self-preservation. I couldn't ignore the reality of what she had done or the pain that had been inflicted upon me. Emily, I said, finally breaking the silence that hung heavily in the air. I need time to think, time to figure out what I really want. Her face fell and I could see a flicker of anger mixed with sadness. You can't just walk away from this. We can fix it. I'll do better, I swear. But I shook, my head feeling resolute. You broke my trust. You chose to betray me when I needed you most. That's not something I can just overlook because you're asking nicely. She withdrew her hand, looking defeated. What do you want me to say, then? I'm sorry, I'll end things with Mark. Words are meaningless at this point, Emily. I need actions. I need to see you understand the gravity of what you've done. I don't want to be the guy who just forgives and forgets. That's not fair to me." As she sat there, tears welling in her eyes, I knew it was a moment of truth for both of us. The reality of our situation was finally settling in. She had chosen to step outside our marriage, and now the burden was on her to prove that she truly wanted to repair the damage. I decided to leave. It felt surreal to walk away from the table, leaving behind the remnants of what was once a bright connection. I didn't look back as I exited the coffee shop, my heart pounding in my chest. I had a lot to think about, but I knew one thing. I needed to focus on myself for a while. In the days that followed, I dove into my work trying to keep my mind occupied. I found solace in routine. I went to the gym, spent time with friends, and tried to distract myself from the chaos of my emotions. But deep down, the betrayal lingered, festering like a wound that wouldn't heal. I felt like I was living in a surreal nightmare. Emily tried reaching out, sending me texts apologizing, promising she'd cut things off with Mark. But every time I saw her name pop up on my phone, I felt a knot in my stomach. I didn't want to deal with her half-hearted attempts at reconciliation. I wanted to know if she truly understood what she had done. Finally, after a week of silence, I decided to meet with her again. This time, I wanted to set boundaries. I needed to lay down the law about what our relationship could look like moving forward if it could survive at all. I chose a park where we used to take walks. It felt like it could be a neutral ground, but I was also filled with dread. When I arrived, Emily was already there, sitting on a bench, her gaze fixed on the ground. She looked up as I approached, her face a mix of hope and anxiety. "Jake," she said softly, standing to meet me. "Thank you for coming." I nodded but didn't say much. I needed to remain composed. "Let's get right to it," I said, taking a seat beside her. "I need to know if you're really willing to work on this. I'm not interested in empty promises." "I am," she replied, her voice earnest. "I've ended things with Mark, and I want to prove to you that I can be the wife you deserve. You have to understand, this isn't just about you cutting ties with him," I countered, feeling my heart race. "This is about rebuilding trust, and that takes time. I can't just jump back into our relationship like nothing happened." "I get that," she said quickly. "But I am committed to making this work. I'll go to therapy, I'll do whatever it takes. I just need you to believe in me again." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to feel hopeful about our future, but doubt lingered. "Emily, do you understand how much pain you've caused? It's not just about the physical act of cheating, it's the emotional betrayal that cuts the deepest. How do you expect me to trust you again?" A tear slid down her cheek, and for a moment I felt a pang of sympathy, but I also felt anger at the situation. "I understand," she said, her voice trembling. "I just wish I could take it all back. I never wanted to hurt you." "Then what were you thinking?" I pressed, needing to understand her mindset. "Why go through with it? Why not just talk to me?" "I was scared," she admitted, her voice cracking. "I thought I could handle it. I didn't realize how deep I'd gotten until it was too late. I thought I was just looking for a distraction." "Distraction?" I echoed, feeling the anger bubble again. "You put your needs ahead of our marriage and blew everything up. You could have communicated. You chose not to." "I know," she insisted, wiping her eyes. "And I'm sorry, but I'm here now, ready to make amends. I just need you to give me a chance." "Giving you a chance doesn't mean I'll forget. It means we start fresh and you prove to me that you can be trustworthy again," I clarified. "But know that this is a fragile process. One misstep and I can't promise I'll stay." Emily nodded, and for the first time I saw a flicker of understanding in her eyes. It was as if she grasped the weight of the situation, the reality of the bridge she had burned. We sat in silence for a moment, the gravity of our conversation settling between us. "It's going to take time," I said softly, my heart aching. "And I need you to be patient with me. I can't rush into this. There are no quick fixes." "I understand," she whispered, squeezing my hand gently. "I'll do anything to show you that I can be the partner you deserve. I just hope it's not too late." I wasn't sure if I believed that yet, but at least we were moving in the right direction. The road ahead was going to be long and difficult, and I was unsure if we'd make it to the other side. But for the first time in a while, I felt a glimmer of hope amid the pain. It was a start, and perhaps that was enough for now. In the weeks that followed, we embarked on a fragile journey of rebuilding our relationship. It was awkward and uncomfortable, like walking on eggshells. I could see Emily was genuinely trying. She was open about her feelings and even suggested couples therapy. I didn't want to dismiss her efforts outright. Part of me wanted to believe that we could come out stronger on the other side, but the other part of me was still cautious, still hurting. We attended our first therapy session together, and it was a revealing experience. The therapist, Dr. Thompson, was understanding, but she didn't let us sidestep the issues. She asked us to talk openly about our feelings, which led to some uncomfortable truths. I learned that Emily had been feeling overwhelmed at work, and instead of talking to me, she had sought validation elsewhere. It was a painful realization to hear her express how she felt isolated, but it also made me realize how important communication had been in our relationship. "Jake, I never meant for it to go this far," Emily said during our session, her eyes welling with tears. "I thought I could handle it, that I could manage my stress on my own. I didn't realize how much I needed you. And I didn't realize how distant I had become." I admitted, my voice shaky. "I thought I was being supportive by giving you space, but I should have checked in more often. I thought I was doing the right thing." The session opened up a floodgate of emotions. We both shared our vulnerabilities, things we had buried deep down. It was cathartic, but it also left me feeling exposed and raw. I had spent years building a wall around my emotions, and now it felt like I was in a battle to tear it down while also keeping myself protected. After a few sessions, I started to see tangible changes in our dynamic. Emily was making an effort to communicate more openly, and I was learning to express my feelings without fear of judgment. We began to talk about the things we used to enjoy together before the cloud. Betrayal hung over us. We went for walks, cooked meals together, and even tried to relive some of the fun dates we had once enjoyed. But every now and then, the shadow of her infidelity would creep back into my mind. During one of our quieter evenings, as we watched a movie, I suddenly felt a wave of anger wash over me. "I can't shake the feeling that I'll never fully trust you again," I blurted out. It was unfiltered, but it felt necessary. Emily turned to me, her expression pained. "I understand," she said softly. "I can't expect you to just forget. I've shattered that trust, and I'm going to have to earn it back piece by piece." "I want to believe you," I replied, looking away from her. "But every time I think of you and Mark together, it's like a punch to the gut. I can't help but wonder what you talked about when I wasn't around." "What did we talk about?" she asked earnestly. "It was mostly stupid stuff. I thought it was harmless, but I know now that it was. I wish I could take it back, but I can't. I want to prove to you that I'm committed to making this right." I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "I need to know you're genuinely dedicated to this. I need to see that you're not just saying the right things because you think it'll pacify me." "It's hard, Jake. I don't want to keep reliving the past, but I know it's a part of our journey," she said. "I'll show you, I promise. Just give me time." As weeks turned into months, we continued our sessions and navigated the rocky terrain of our marriage. There were good days and bad days. In moments of connection, I felt a flicker of hope. During moments of doubt, I felt the anxiety creep back in. One evening, we decided to go out for dinner, something we hadn't done in a long time. I dressed up, hoping to rekindle that spark. When we arrived at the restaurant, I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. The atmosphere was cozy, and the dim lights set a romantic tone. As the dinner unfolded, I could see Emily relaxing, her laughter echoing through the restaurant. For a moment, it felt like the weight of our troubles had lifted. We shared stories, reminisced about our early days, and even flirted like we used to. But midway through the meal, a couple walked in, and I froze. It was Mark and his girlfriend. My heart raced as I watched them take a seat not too far from us. I could feel the tension in the air, and I knew Emily had seen them too. "Jake, she started, but I raised my hand, stopping her. "Let's not make a scene," I said, trying to keep my composure. But my heart was pounding, and I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal that washed over me. "Are you okay?" Emily asked, her voice laced with concern. "No, I'm not," I admitted, feeling the anger bubble up. "How can we pretend everything is fine when he's right there? How do you expect me to feel?" She glanced over at Mark, her expression conflicted. "I didn't know he would be here. I didn't want this to happen." "Neither did I," said. My voice harsh. This is why trust takes time to rebuild. No matter how hard we try, the shadows of what happened linger. The rest of the dinner was strained. I felt like I was on edge, every laugh and smile from Emily feeling like a betrayal. The connection we had built in therapy felt fragile, and I feared it was being shattered right in front of me. At that moment, I was reminded of the reality of our situation. When we left the restaurant, the tension was palpable. I could feel my emotions boiling beneath the surface, ready to erupt. "You need to understand how hard this is for me," I said, my voice low but intense. "Seeing him here, knowing what you shared with him, it's a reminder that you broke our bond. I know it must be hard, but I'm not that person anymore," she pleaded. "I'm trying to change. I want us to move forward." "Moving forward feels impossible when I'm constantly reminded of the past," I replied, frustration bubbling over. "I need to see that you're fully committed to us, not just when it's convenient." "I am committed," she insisted, her voice rising. "I'm putting in the effort to fix this. I just need you to trust me." "Trust is earned, Emily," I said firmly. "And right now I feel like I'm back at square one." As we drove home, silence enveloped us. I could feel our relationship hanging by a thread, teetering between hope and despair. I knew it would take time to heal, but the reality of it all felt heavier than ever. Would we ever truly overcome this? Or was this just a cycle we were destined to repeat? I didn't have the answers yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't allow fear to dictate my future. I had to decide what I wanted, and I needed to find my own path moving forward. As the days turned into weeks after that tense dinner, I found myself at a crossroads. The weight of Emily's betrayal still lingered, and while I wanted to believe that she was genuinely trying to make amends, doubt gnawed at me. I felt like I was on a tightrope, balancing between wanting to rekindle our love and being terrified of falling back into the abyss of betrayal. We continued attending therapy, and during those sessions, I tried to be open about my feelings. Emily was making progress, but I felt like I was stuck in a loop of pain and distrust. The therapist encouraged us to focus on the small victories, the moments where we could connect and experience joy together. But every time I turned around, I was reminded of what had happened, of the man who had come between us. One evening, after another long day at work, I got home to find Emily sitting at the kitchen table. She had a serious look on her face that made my stomach drop. "Jake, we need to talk," she said, her voice shaky. I sat down, bracing myself for the conversation. "What is it?" "I've been thinking a lot about everything, and I realize that I need to be honest with you," she said, tears welling in her eyes. "I know it's been difficult for you to trust me, and I understand why. I can't keep expecting you to forgive me just because I say I'm sorry." I nodded, feeling a mix of apprehension and curiosity. "What do you mean?" "I want to take a break from our relationship," she said, her voice breaking. "I think we both need time to really figure out what we want. I can't keep dragging you through this when I know you're still in pain." The words hit me like a punch. I hadn't expected her to say that. "A break," I echoed, trying to process it. "You mean separate?" "Yes," she replied, looking away. "I think it might help us both gain some perspective. I don't want to be the reason you're unhappy, and I don't want to be in a relationship where we're constantly fighting against what happened." I felt a swirl of emotions: relief, sadness, confusion. Part of me wanted to scream, to fight for what we had, but another part of me recognized that she was right. We had been in a cycle of pain, and perhaps a break was what we needed. "When do you want to do this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Now," she said, her voice trembling. "I think it's best if we each take some time apart to heal, to reflect. I'll stay with my sister for a while, and you can have space to think." As she spoke, I felt my heart shatter into a million pieces. The thought of losing her completely felt unbearable, but I also understood the necessity of this decision. "Okay," I said finally, feeling defeated. "If that's what you think is best, then I'll respect that." We spent the night talking about logistics and what a break would look like. It was surreal to think that we were choosing to separate, even temporarily. But as we went over our plans, I felt an odd sense of clarity begin to surface. Perhaps this was the space we both needed to truly evaluate what we wanted from our relationship. The next morning, Emily packed a few bags, and as she left, I felt a wave of grief wash over me. Watching her drive away was like watching a piece of my heart leave with her. I stood in our empty house, the silence ringing in my ears, and for the first time I was forced to confront my feelings head-on. The days turned into weeks, and during this time apart I started to rediscover myself. I reached out to friends I hadn't spoken to in ages, spent time exploring hobbies I had forgotten about, and even went on a few hikes to clear my mind. It was liberating to focus on my own needs, but I also missed Emily deeply. I thought about our time together, the good and the bad. I reflected on the love we had shared and the moments that had once brought us joy. It was a duality that I had never fully appreciated until now. I realized how much I had taken for granted. As the weeks passed, I found myself beginning to heal. I still felt pain, but it was different now, more manageable. I started to understand that moving forward didn't necessarily mean forgetting everything that had happened. It meant acknowledging the hurt while also working toward a better future, whether that future included Emily or not. One day, as I was out for a walk with a friend, I received a text from Emily. "Can we meet to talk?" It read. My heart raced, and I felt a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. I agreed, and we arranged to meet at a park near my place. When I arrived, I saw her sitting on a bench, looking both nervous and hopeful. We exchanged greetings, and as I sat down beside her, I could see she had changed. There was a maturity in her demeanor, an acceptance of the past that hadn't been there before. "I've spent a lot of time reflecting," she began, her voice steady. "I realize that I need to own my mistakes and take full responsibility for what happened. I let my insecurities drive my actions, and I hurt you in the process." "I appreciate that," I replied, feeling a warmth in my chest. "I've been doing my own reflection as well. I've learned a lot about myself during this time apart." Emily nodded, her eyes glistening. "I want to start fresh, but I know that it's going to take time. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to earn back your trust, but I also understand if you feel differently." "I want to work on this," I said, feeling a sense of determination rising within me. "But we both have to be committed to rebuilding trust. I can't go back to the way things were before." "Agreed," she said, her expression earnest. "I don't want to go back to that either. I want us to be stronger, to appreciate each other more. I want to make it right." Our conversation flowed naturally, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a glimmer of hope. We talked about our expectations going forward and what we both needed to feel secure in our relationship. It was a refreshing, honest discussion, one that set the foundation for a new beginning. As we wrapped up, I felt a sense of calm washing over me. I was still aware that we had a long road ahead, but it was a road I was willing to walk down with her, step by step. In the months that followed, we committed to rebuilding our relationship, focusing on communication, trust, and forgiveness. Emily started therapy on her own, and I did the same. The journey wasn't easy, but we were in it together, learning from our past while forging a new path forward. As I reflect on this experience now, I realize that trust, once broken, can be repaired, but it takes dedication and time from both partners. I learned that love is not just about the good moments, but also about navigating the tough ones. And while we may not have a perfect relationship, we have something more meaningful, a partnership rooted in understanding and resilience. So, to anyone reading this who might find themselves in a similar situation, remember that healing takes time. Don't rush the process. Whether you rebuild or decide to move on, trust your instincts and prioritize your own well-being. You deserve love, respect, and honesty every step of the way.